Welcome back to another stream. This is the Rational Wrestling Mark YouTube channel, also known as the Rational Wrestling Viewer, and I'm going to be reviewing NXT. This is going to be a very short review, not too long and not too long-winded. So let's get right started. Let's get started into Carmelo Hayes kicks off NXT, cuts a promo on Bron Breakker. Now, when Carmelo Hayes, he addresses being attacked by Bron Breakker last week. When this whole respect between Bron and Carmelo pretty much ended. But before that time, they were, on the same page. They had respect from one another. Respectfully, Carmelo Hayes defeated Bron Breakker for the NXT title, and they was cool. They was cool up until the point where, Bron gave Carmelo Hayes his flowers, and then, Carmelo Hayes was caught off guard, and Bron out of nowhere clotheslined him, took out Trick Williams, and started to beat down Carmelo Hayes. Now, it wasn't announced in NXT that Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes are going to have a rematch because Bron Breakker had stated later in the show that he believes the NXT title is a curse for him, so that he doesn't believe he needs that title, and he believes it's not necessary for him to, get that belt back. He believes that he's better off without that championship. So I don't know if they do a rematch with Carmelo and Bron. That seems to be the way to go. But Carmelo Hayes, respect is out the window now. And, he wants to fight Bron Breakker. Right? And I just want to say that Carmelo Hayes is the right NXT champion. He's definitely the one to carry this brand. Now, I haven't really watched a lot of NXT, but I've seen glimpses of Carmelo Hayes, and he's one of the few guys, along with Bron Breakker, that stick out. He's definitely the top guy in NXT. He has a lot of charisma. He knows how to talk. He has a lot of swag to him. He's definitely him, most definitely. And I believe Carmelo Hayes is going to do very well when he gets up to the main roster. He's going to do big things on the main roster. But I believe we're just seeing, some potential in Carmelo Hayes in NXT. I believe the best is yet to come. So then, as he's cutting his promo, Dragon Lee interrupts. He's going to be in the NXT Championship Fatal 4-Way, number one contenders match. And haven't watched a whole lot of Dragon Lee. Don't really know much about him. JD McDonough interrupts, also known as Jordan Devlin from the NXT UK brand. He interrupts and, has no problem headbutting Carmelo Hayes right in his face. And, he's going to be in that Fatal 4 number one contendership along with Grayson Waller. And we found out the last person that's going to be in that Fatal 4-Way is Duke Hudson. So we found out that the winner of the Fatal 4-Way was Grayson Waller. So Grayson Waller will face Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship at NXT Spring Break-In. That's their little takeover, their little, show that they're doing. And, that should be a pretty good matchup between two future world champions on the main roster. Now, I do believe a guy like Bron Breakker Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, you know, they are 3 future world champions, right? They are definitely the future when it comes to the main roster, right? Another talking point I want to cover is the NXT women's division. Um, one of my favorite parts about NXT right now, I think this is my favorite part, is how well the NXT women's division is being booked. Um, I love the structure of that division. Everybody feels like they matter. They're important to the show, and I realize that I observe of how well the characters are booked on the show. Right? They have everybody has a character. Every woman on the show has a character. There's layers to their character, right? Nobody feels like fodder, right? Nobody feels second nature, second best, right? Nobody feels like they're unimportant or they're just there. Like everybody has a purpose on being on the show, right? And comparing the NXT women's division to the main rosters, Raw and SmackDown's women's divisions, it's night and day. Because you look at the Raw women's division, it needs a build up. It needs a rehaul, right? Both women's divisions on Raw and SmackDown need some work, right? It's clear as day. They both need work. While the NXT women's division right now is doing well, from the title standpoint, from characters, when it comes to these women cutting promos, also the tag team division within the women, right? The women's tag team division is a lot more clean than what we have on the main roster. Like in NXT, you actually have real tag teams, real female tag teams, right? So I believe the women's division in NXT has been well booked. In my opinion, it's the better division of Raw and SmackDown's division, right? You can probably even say that the NXT women's division is a lot better than the AEW's women's division, right? Because from top to bottom, it's not just about the wrestling. The wrestling is a big part, but there's other factors such as mic skills, cutting promos, character development, storylines that people can invest into. Every female has a character, from Cora Jade, from Indy Hartwell, from Zoe Stark, from Tiffany Stratton, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, Toxic Attraction, from Roxanne Perez, to Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, that tag team. Every woman feels important. And Raw and SmackDown definitely need to take notes on how to properly book a women's division. See, this is how you properly book a women's division. And not every woman is going to be on the show every week. But, you do your best to highlight the women that are going to be featured a lot more often, right? In important matches and storylines and, whatever, right? And then you have women that you're building up on the side, right? You're not going to put them in the title picture right now, but they will be taken seriously as time progresses. It's just a matter of getting, certain talents over, right? It's giving them a character. It's giving them time to work a match. It's really giving them time to develop themselves as a performer. And a lot of these women in NXT right now, they're given that time. They're in a great place to where they can, tune up their skills and really build themselves up as performers before they get to a Raw or a SmackDown, right? They won't be as exposed easily because whatever mistakes they're making in NXT, they're going to be fixing it in NXT, right? It won't be on the fly. It's going to be, it's a smaller audience that's watching, right? It's the same audience that they're wrestling in every week, On occasions, they'll have a takeover, right? But they have a lot of time to really progress their character, progress their wrestling, which is great for them. And that's the beauty of NXT. I feel like historically the women have largely benefited from NXT. They have largely benefited from the NXT brand overall. So that being said, the women's division is definitely leaps and bounds ahead of what Raw and SmackDown is doing with their women. And these are just the facts. Character development is also a big deal. One of the things that I love about NXT and I picked up on is just all the different characters, not with just the women, but the men. They all have different characters, right? It's not about the wrestling. It's not about putting on a 5-star match. It's about fine-tuning your character and giving people a reason to invest into your character. Character development in wrestling is very important because you can have a wrestling match and you can be a great wrestler, technically sound, but if the fans don't care about you, then what's the point? What's the point of being invested in your matches, if you have no character? And that's one of the things that, Shawn Michaels as a booker, that he is really working on with these talents is their character and building up that character. Like that's one of the things I've really noticed about watching NXT here and there, seeing some clips, is everybody seems to have a character, a gimmick, right? And they play it well, right? And they have a lot of time to progress their character, right? So that's always a good thing to see in a wrestling show. The last talking point I want to talk about is that Bron Breakker and Carmelo Hayes are the future. Those two guys are undoubtedly the future world champions, future WrestleMania main eventers. If TakeOver was not a strong indication, I don't know what was. Those two guys are it. Bron Breakker, when you look at him, it's not just about the wrestling. It's really about his, how he carries himself. He carries himself like a real champion. Very intense. He definitely knows how to talk. And I feel like at him as a heel, it's going to be pretty good. Especially with the stuff going on with his father, and his father being in the news right now in a very negative light. So him turning heel was the best decision to make. And it allows Bron Breakker to, snap off the chains, right, of his character. Because when you're working as a babyface, especially for someone like Bron Breakker, who just seems like a natural heel, who seems like he's holding on a lot, he's able to let a lot of stuff go as a heel and just allow himself to just be free in his character and do whatever he wants, because he's an aggressive dude. He legit looks like he can beat somebody up. I mean, if you're caught in an alleyway with Bron Breakker, you may not have the best of luck. I'm just saying. He looks legit. He looks very believable. Almost like a 2002 Brock Lesnar, almost identical to that version of Brock Lesnar. So him being as a heel, it just works. And Carmelo Hayes is, on point. He definitely has it. There's no doubt. But these two are definitely your future. And you're definitely going to be booking your shows around a Carmelo Hayes and a Bron Breakker. And I believe that we should run this match back at the next takeover, which will probably be in the summertime. I don't know when that will be. Probably SummerSlam weekend, most likely. And I guess we can wait for that match to happen. It seems to me that they're not rushing that match because of Bron Breakker not wanting a shot at the NXT title right now. Maybe he'll change his mind, decide later that I'll go after Carmelo Hayes again. Who knows? But personally, I didn't really get to see their match at TakeOver. I saw some highlights, like what I saw. I might do a full match review on their match, maybe. But yeah, this was a short NXT review. I didn't get to talk about everything in the episode. I know I missed out a whole lot. The Cora Jade promo and the women's tag team match. Yeah, I just missed out on a lot. The Fatal 4-Way main event, I'm pretty sure was good. I think as a whole, I'm not really into NXT because I really enjoy the black and gold NXT from back in the day. That was my favorite version of the NXT. But this version of the NXT definitely has its bright spots. It has certain guys and certain women on the show that you want to tune in and watch, right? You kind of pick and choose what parts of NXT you want to watch and just, kind of go with that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, this was a little short review for NXT. So that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Like the video on your way out. Make sure to subscribe today. And this is the Rational Wrestling Mark, also known as the Rational Wrestling Viewer. And I am out. Peace.